So, Unity. You've definitely heard the name, right? Especially if you're a gamer. But what is it, actually? Well, today, we're going to break down the engine that's not only powering some of your favorite games, but is also kind of quietly engineering our future.
I mean, just think about it. You've got games like Among Us, Total Social Deception, then there's the beautiful hand-drawn art of Cuphead, or what about the AR magic of Pokemon Go, and the totally mind-bending exploration in Outer Wilds. On the surface, these games have, nothing in common.
But here's the thing. They all share this one secret ingredient, a kind of common digital heartbeat. Any guesses what connects them all?
Yup, that connection is Unity. And what's so wild is that this thing, which started as just a tool for making games, is now being used to build, well, entire new realities. And that's not an exaggeration.
All right, so let's get into it. To really understand what Unity is becoming, we've got to start with the absolute basics, the fundamental building block. Like, how do you even make something in Unity?
Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, starts with something called a game object. The best way to think about it is like an invisible box. Seriously, it's just an empty container. It has a position in the world, a rotation, a scale, but on its own, you can't see it, and it does absolutely nothing. It's a total blank slate.
So how do you bring this invisible box to life? Well, you start adding things to it. These are called components. They're like little power-ups that give the empty box a purpose. So you want to actually see it? Bam! You add a sprite renderer for graphics. You want it to fall with gravity? You add a rigid body for physics. And if you want it to actually think or react when you press a button, you add a script component. That's the grains of the operation.
And that right there, that's the core loop. That's the whole magic trick, this super simple but crazy powerful idea of combining these empty containers with different jobs. That's how you build everything. Your main character, the trees in the background, the user interface, even the camera that you're looking through. It's all just game objects with different components attached. Okay, so now we know how things get made. But Unity is building more than just the games themselves. It's also becoming a seriously powerful platform for building a business around those games.
You know, for the longest time, if you were a developer and you wanted to sell stuff in your game, like a cool new skin or an extra life, it was a massive headache. You had to deal with all these different payment systems and different software toolkits, SDKs for the Apple App Store, for Google Play, for Steam on PC. It was a total nightmare to manage.
This is where Unity's new play comes in. They're building their own commerce platform. So instead of that old, clunky, mobile-only system, they're creating this full-blown suite that works everywhere. Mobile, PC, even the web. And the best part? No more juggling all those different toolkits. Developers get one single dashboard to rule them all.
So why is this such a big deal? Well, for a small indie dev team, this is an absolute game changer. We're talking about saving weeks, maybe even months of engineering time that they would have spent wrestling with different app stores. Now, they've got one place to manage everything. They have more control, and because Unity partnered with a giant like Stripe, all the really complicated things like fraud and taxes, that's all handled for them.
But here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. This is where it gets bigger than just gaming. Because those same fundamental tools we talked about, the game objects and components that power awesome games, are now being used to build our future. And in some ways, you probably wouldn't expect.
In fact, let's look at 3 specific industries where Unity is having a huge impact. And I mean completely outside of gaming. I think when you see what they are, you'll really get a sense of just how flexible this whole platform is.
So what are they? We're talking about healthcare, architecture, and advanced simulation. Now I know that might sound like a massive jump from making video games, right? But the core tech is what makes it all possible.
Let's start with healthcare. Surgeons are now using virtual reality training simulations built in Unity. Think about that. They can practice incredibly complex and delicate procedures over and over and over again in a totally risk-free virtual space before they ever step into an operating room. For medical training, that's just revolutionary.
And it's a similar story in architecture. Forget flat blueprints. Architects can now build a full, interactive 3D model of a building. Their clients can put on a VR headset and literally walk through their future home or office before a single bit of construction is even started. It's incredible. So what's the common thread here? What connects a fun mobile game to a life-saving surgical simulation? It all comes back to that core engine. It's the power to create and show complex 3D things in real time. It's the ability to simulate real-world physics. And it's that key ingredient, interactivity. The very things that make a game immersive and fun are the exact same things that are completely changing professional training and design.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you can see this clear path, right? A journey that began with a simple goal, making game development easier for everyone, and is now heading towards something so much bigger.
I mean, think about the evolution. Back in 2005, it was all about one thing: democratizing game development, giving more people the tools to create. Fast forward to today, and it's a whole ecosystem for creators to not only build, but also to run a business. And looking forward, the goal is clearly to become the go-to tool for any kind of interactive 3D experience in any industry you can think of.
So really, it's pretty simple. Unity started out by making it easier to build games. Now, it's making it easier to build realities. Not just for fun, but for education, for science, for business, for everything. And that leaves us with a pretty wild question to think about, doesn't it? If games were just the starting point, and we're already seeing this technology used for surgery and architecture, what reality is going to be engineered next?